The North Shore Coastguard need a new boat, but with only 15% funding from the government, they can't afford the huge costs. The Coastguard vessel was due for renewal in 2015 and construction is well underway, but over $100,000 is still needed before the boat can set sail.
The North Shore Coastguard pride themselves on being one of the most effective units in New Zealand, highly regarded by the public and wider Coastguard community. Coastguard New Zealand has been run by volunteers since 1898. The North Shore unit's been based in Browns Bay since 1990. Today, the organisation sources 85% of funding from individuals, corporate sponsors and trusts. But they're still in need of life-saving funding to keep afloat and remain the primary maritime search and rescue service in our country. Jane Matthews, Te Wahanui.
I can see there's a huge issue here. With us today is Joe Davis. He is a senior skipper and has been a member of Coastguard for 15 years. He's here to talk to us about the boat the Shore built. Why is there a need for a new North Shore Coastguard boat?
The Coastguard unit at Browns Bay, Coastguard North Shore, is consistently the first or second busiest unit in New Zealand. So right around the coast, 73 Coastguard units saving lives. This is one of the busiest resources there. It's making the waters of the Hauraki Gulf safe, and the current vessel needs replacing. It's reached that useful point in its life where it's time to replace it.
I've seen your Give a Little page. Will the boat be fully funded by donations?
No, so it's not fully funded by donations. It's about a third funded by donations. So we have some support from Coastguard centrally, which is the government funding you mentioned, plus some charitable grants from places like Foundation North. We then have some money that we've raised locally through the Browns Bay Market Trust. So the local market, the flea market that runs in Browns Bay, helps raise money for us. And we now need to find $100,000 to $130,000 from donations through the Give a Little page.
What are your views on the government providing more funding?
Well, look, more funding obviously is always a good thing if you're a charity, but actually I think government do their share here. I think it's really important that Coastguard has to look to its communities for money and for support. So around the coast, our units are little organisations and they're really closely connected with their communities. And I think that's a really healthy thing. I think that too much support coming in maybe weakens that bond. I think it's a good thing to have to raise money and really have that sense of community ownership.
What happens if you don't reach your goal?
We absolutely will reach our goal because I'm sure everyone listening to this is going to log on to the Give a Little page and make a donation today, so I have absolute confidence that we'll get there.
What features of the new vessel will help save lives?
So we've really evolved the vessel design that's there at the moment. So one of the most exciting things is around our crew safety. So our volunteers, 40 of them in Browns Bay, put themselves in harm's way, going out in the middle of the night in storms to go and help people when they're in trouble at sea. The new safety systems for them on board, so impact seats, for instance. So they're sitting on, instead of standing and taking all the shock of a wave on their knees, they're now sitting on specially designed seats that soak up that impact. So much more effective, we can be out there longer, we can go further, we can save more people.
How excited is this crew about the new vessel?
They're buzzing, they can't wait to see it. We built a mock-up of the vessel, so we made it out of plywood and they got to play with it. It was really exciting. We just got to fundraise for it now, get it over the line and get it working in Browns Bay for summer.
And how much funding have you got now so far?
So the project is at the moment, we're about 80,000, 90,000 away from our funding target, so we've got a lot to find, but it's a $640,000 project. We've done very well. We've got a fair bit more to find.
And how many of you guys in the crew?
We have 40 active volunteers in Browns Bay, give or take, at the moment. That's spread across 5 crews.